A gang's biggest mistake, picking a fight with the retired female FBI cop. Two bikers strolled into a seaside diner, clearly seeking a bit of chaos. Instead, they discovered a Navy commander adorned with numerous accolades. What unfolded next would unveil a $100 million smuggling ring, dismantle a criminal empire, and deliver a harsh lesson to the Steel Serpents motorcycle gang. At times, the most formidable presence in the space is the silent woman sipping her coffee in the corner. They believed they were instilling fear in a solitary woman. Instead, they chose to confront one of the most celebrated naval officers in American history. This tale unfolds as two bikers cross paths with a formidable female Navy commander, unaware that their reckless actions would lead to a fateful encounter, marking their greatest blunder as their last. Before we dive back in, I'm curious to hear where you're tuning in from today. If you're finding pleasure in these tales, be sure to subscribe, as tomorrow's special installment is one you absolutely won't want to overlook. The morning fog crept in from the ocean, enveloping the streets of Seabrook Bay in an ethereal veil. Commander Evelyn Carter occupied her familiar window booth at the Lighthouse Cafe, observing the steam ascend from her coffee cup in gentle, swirling patterns. She had selected this quaint coastal town specifically for its unchanging tranquility. After 2 decades of covert operations and missions destined to remain unrecorded in history, all she yearned for was peace. Martha Sullivan, the silver-haired proprietor who had managed the diner for more than 30 years, came over with a steaming pot of coffee. "You seem far too young to be this weary, my dear," she remarked, pouring more into Evelyn's cup. Her gentle smile brought back memories of her mother, who had been gone for 15 years now. Martha remained oblivious to the haunting nightmares that continued to rouse Evelyn from her sleep, leaving her in cold sweats, or the reason she consistently selected the booth that offered the most unobstructed view of both exits. The tranquil morning was abruptly interrupted as 2 motorcycles thundered into the parking lot, their engines intentionally loud enough to shake the diner's windows. The remaining patrons stiffened, their discussions abruptly halting. Martha's smile wavered as she clutched the coffee pot more firmly. Evelyn observed the unique snake emblem of the Steel Serpent on their leather jackets as they stepped off their bikes, noticing how the other patrons suddenly became engrossed in their breakfast. Logan Viper Reed took the lead, his weathered face contorting into what he likely believed was an endearing grin as he scanned the room. His lieutenant, Derek Crusher Richard, trailed closely, both men exuding an overblown confidence, typical of those who have never encountered genuine opposition. Logan's eyes held on Evelyn a beat longer than necessary before shifting to Martha. "Martha, darling," Logan called out, his voice sharp enough to catch the attention of several patrons. "We missed you at the town meeting last night." Mayor Richard felt a sense of disappointment. Martha's hands quivered ever so slightly as she placed the coffee pot on the table. "Had some inventory tasks to tackle, Logan. You're familiar with the experience." Of course," Logan responded, stepping nearer. "However, when the mayor summons a meeting, attendance is not truly a matter of choice. He is striving to foster growth in this town and requires the backing of the entire community." His hand struck the counter with force, causing Martha to flinch. Evelyn observed the interaction quietly, her coffee left untouched. She meticulously recorded every detail with skillful accuracy. Derek had a knife tucked away in his boot, not very well hidden. Logan's jacket had a subtle bulge on the left side, a novice error regarding a shoulder holster. Their assured stances implied a familiarity with intimidation's effectiveness, yet their careless handling of weapons revealed that they had never encountered genuine opposition. "Perhaps," Martha remarked, her voice more resolute now, "the mayor ought to prioritize the management of the town rather than allowing criminals to influence policy decisions." The diner fell into a profound silence. Logan's artificial grin disappeared. "What did you just utter to me, elder lady?" he snarled, extending his hand over the counter. Evelyn acted instinctively, her body responding before her mind could catch up. 2 decades of naval command experience surged within her as she seized Logan's wrist, expertly applying pressure to nerve clusters that caused his fingers to involuntarily spasm open. She remarked, Evelyn's voice was gentle, yet it resonated through the quiet diner. that the mayor ought to fulfill his responsibilities. Logan attempted to break free, but Evelyn's hold was unyielding. Derek shifted to the side, yet her attention stayed locked on Logan. "Release me," Logan growled, "or my companion will ensure you think twice about it." Evelyn smiled, yet her eyes remained devoid of warmth. "Is he going to?" "From my perspective, it seems you have three options to consider. First, you and your companion depart immediately, and we let this slip into oblivion. If you attempt something foolish, I won't hesitate to send both of you to the emergency room. Or three," she applied a bit more pressure, causing Logan to wince. "We discover exactly how many bones I can shatter before you touch the ground." "You have no idea who you're dealing with," Logan spat. "Indeed, I do," Evelyn responded. Logan Viper Reed received a dishonorable discharge from the Navy in 18. You and the Steel Serpents have been orchestrating protection rackets along the coast, but recently you've escalated to a more significant operation. "Is there anything I overlooked?" Logan's face went pale. Derek's hand inched toward his hidden firearm, yet Evelyn's voice froze him in place. "I would not. Your draw lacks speed and your intentions are as clear as day, revealing your inexperience. Once you finish your preparations, this will be behind you." For an extended pause, no one stirred. Then Logan lifted his unoccupied hand in a gesture of capitulation. Okay, it's time to go." Yet this is far from finished. Evelyn let him go, taking a step back to allow them room to leave. "It certainly can be. The choice is yours." The two bikers stepped back, their efforts to appear intimidating diminished by Logan's casual rubbing of his wrist. As they climbed onto their bikes, Logan cast one final piercing look through the window. "May I ask who you are?" Martha murmured softly as the motorcycles thundered off into the distance. Evelyn settled back into her seat, lifting her cup to her lips for a taste of the now lukewarm coffee. Just an individual who's witnessed more than their fair share of bullies in a lifetime. As she observed the Steel Serpents vanish into the mist, she realized Logan had been correct about one aspect. This was far from finished. She had unwittingly marked herself as a target, and if her instincts were sharp, the protection racket was merely the beginning of something much larger. The Steel Serpents belonged to a grander narrative, something that extended well beyond this quaint coastal town. Martha set a steaming cup of coffee before her, accompanied by a generous slice of apple pie. "Whatever unfolds from here," the older woman declared with conviction. "You're not by yourself." Evelyn nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. She had selected this town in search of tranquility, yet there were moments when tranquility required a battle. And if it was a confrontation the Steel Serpents sought, they were about to discover why Navy commanders were the last individuals you wanted to antagonize. "No," Evelyn conceded softly, retrieving her phone to place a call she had wished to avoid making once more. "We are not solitary beings, and you are not either." That's no longer the case. As the night deepened, Evelyn found herself in her modest apartment above Sullivan's diner, meticulously cleaning her Glock 19 with a skillful touch. The confrontation with the Steel Serpents replayed in her thoughts as she contemplated her next step. A sudden knock at her door broke the silence of her contemplation. "It's open, Sheriff," she called out, her focus unwavering as she continued with her tasks. Sheriff Daniel Briggs entered, his lined face revealing a deep-seated worry. In a tight-knit community, news spreads quickly. "I heard you had an encounter with Logan and his crew." "That's news to me," Evelyn said as she put her weapon back together. "I recently engaged in a conversation with a few customers who were not very courteous." Cooper let out a weary sigh as he sank into the chair opposite her. "Listen, Commander Carter," she corrected, "Evelyn. I am aware of your history. When you relocated here 6 months back, I conducted a check. 2 decades of service in the Navy. A series of accolades. Information so restricted that even my law enforcement clearance couldn't reach it." Evelyn finally lifted her eyes, locking onto his gaze. "So you understand that I can take care of myself. That is what concerns me. The Steel Serpents have evolved beyond being merely a local gang. They possess a network of contacts. Profound beings. Last month, my assistant discovered a shipment at the port that would have undoubtedly raised significant concerns. Just as we were about to delve into the matter, directives arrived from the state level instructing us to withdraw. It seems as though someone is receiving compensation to turn a blind eye. Cooper inclined his body, softening his tone. Mayor Richard convenes gatherings at the Sky LA Clubhouse. Many members of the city council are seen cruising around in brand new cars that seem beyond their financial means. Unexpectedly, the Port Authority has secured financial resources for significant renovations. I have a teenage daughter, Evelyn, whom I cannot afford to put at risk. Thus, you choose to ignore it. Evelyn completed it for him. I strive to do everything within my power to ensure the safety of my team. Cooper stood, meticulously adjusting his belt. I'm not here to dictate your actions. Exercise caution. Logan does not hold the true authority within the Steel Serpents. Next week, Adrian Wolf, his boss, will be in town. The individual has ties to smuggling networks spanning 3 continents. Evelyn's demeanor was unchanging, yet her thoughts were in a whirlwind. Cross was a name that had echoed in her mind, a remnant from her previous assignment with Naval Intelligence, a mission that had spiraled out of control, resulting in the loss of 2 of her comrades. I appreciate the heads up, Sheriff. As Cooper approached the door, he hesitated. Martha Sullivan is, without a doubt, a remarkable woman. I've been dishing out coffee and pie in this town since my childhood. What did you do today? Finally, someone has taken a stand for her. Once Cooper departed, Evelyn retrieved her phone, inputting a number she hadn't dialed in ages. Reynolds is addressing the audience. Hey Derek, it's Carter. Recall that clandestine operation we monitored in Singapore? The incident that led to the deaths of Johnson and Ramirez? A moment of stillness. The one that slipped through my fingers? Indeed. I believe I've uncovered his supply chain. Seabrook Bay, of all locations. Goodness, Evelyn, you were meant to be enjoying your retirement. Please provide all available information on Adrian Wolf and the Steel Serpents MC, sourced from official channels only. I prefer not to compromise any of your confidential sources. Derek let out a heavy breath. Grant me 2 days and Evelyn, exercise caution. Cross is not an opponent you want to confront by yourself. Who claimed I'm solitary? Crafting and shaping this narrative required a significant investment of our time. If you're finding it enjoyable, consider subscribing to our channel. It holds great significance for us. Let us return to the narrative. The following morning, as Evelyn assisted Martha in opening the diner, a thunderous roar of motorcycles surged by. This time it's not about Steel Serpents. Their leather cuts showcased a distinct emblem, the silver diamond. As they walked by, Evelyn's gaze was drawn to their imposing leader, a formidable figure known as Grayson. There was acknowledgement present. Additionally, there is another point to consider. A note. Additional complications? Martha inquired, her tone weary. Perhaps not, Evelyn responded. The silver diamonds stood apart, primarily ex-military. They defended their domain, yet refrained from targeting non-combatants. If Evelyn's instincts held true, they could very well be allies in the making. The phone vibrated with a sudden buzz. A message from Derek. Information is being received. Cross is undoubtedly the one you want. Acquired coordinates for several port facilities. Additionally, local information indicates that Silver Diamond MC could be an ally against a common foe. With a gentle curve of her lips, Evelyn beamed. Everything was aligning perfectly. The morning crowd began to trickle in, patrons who observed the altercation from yesterday. With a sense of admiration, they acknowledged Evelyn's presence. The news had circulated. At last, someone had taken a stand against the Steel Serpents. At approximately midday, Deputy Evelyn Ramirez made her entrance, heading straight for Evelyn's regular spot. She spoke softly, urging, "There's something you need to see." Gliding a manila envelope over the surface of the table, Evelyn examined the photographs within, footage captured from the port's surveillance cameras. Members of the Steel Serpents watch over cargo containers being transported under the cover of darkness. Expert security teams that fell short of the gang's typical strength. Official documents adorned with authoritative stamps. When will it happen? Yesterday evening. Let me share something important. They are becoming careless. Fearful. Logan has his team keeping an eye on this location, observing you. However, they are quite overt in their approach. Evelyn had observed. All morning, 2 Steel Serpents prospects had been stationed across the street, making an effort to appear laid back. Does your supervisor know you're sharing this with me? Evelyn Ramirez offered a wry smile. Tom is a decent fellow, yet he carries a sense of fear within him. Who, me? I'm weary of witnessing these individuals ruin our community. Martha stood by my side during the difficult time of my mom's passing. I ensured that I had warm meals and a suitable space for my studies. I'm here for her, just like you. Evelyn observed the young deputy intently. Her spine was forged from steel. Flame in her gaze, a new possible companion. Exercise caution, Evelyn cautioned. If they find out you're assisting me, I can take care of myself, and I'm not the only one who's reached their limit. Just as expected, the distant roar of motorcycles drew near once more. The Silver Diamond had returned. As I drove into the diner's parking area this time, Grayson was the first to dismount. His imposing figure filled the doorway as he stepped inside. His gaze swept across the room, finally resting on Evelyn. "Would it be all right if we joined you?" he inquired, his voice a rough, deep growl. Deputy Ramirez tightened his muscles. Evelyn gave a nod as Grayson and 3 of his officers settled into the booth. Martha entered with coffee in hand, her demeanor calm and collected despite the presence of the newcomers. Grayson remarked after Martha departed, "I heard you had a conversation with Logan. A person is known for harboring resentments. Are you here to give me a heads up?" Grayson let out a soft laugh. "No, madam. We find ourselves in this situation due to the Steel Serpents trafficking contraband across our territory without authorization. Equipment of the highest caliber, the sort that leads to fatal consequences. Additionally," he cast a look at Ramirez, who remained steadfast, "we believe you would find value in discussing shared interests." Evelyn reclined, observing the bikers intently. Their stance, the manner in which they presented themselves, absolutely rooted in military backgrounds. In contrast to the Steel Serpents, they met her gaze with a sense of respect rather than defiance. "I am all ears." Grayson cast another look at Deputy Ramirez. "Deputy Ramirez remains," Evelyn asserted with conviction. "She is involved in this." "That seems reasonable." Grayson inclined his body closer. "A significant shipment is set to be overseen by Cross. Something significant enough that Logan has his team on edge. We possess information, resources, and a strong drive. We require an individual with expertise in managing operations of this nature. A person who has undergone Navy training. There's much to be heard. A tight-knit community. Service members. News travels fast." Grayson's voice took on a gentler tone. "I was acquainted with Johnson. He was a decent fellow." The reference to her fallen teammate lingered in the atmosphere. After a brief pause, Evelyn finally found her voice. "If we proceed, it will be according to my vision. Immaculate. Exact. According to the rules. No Western themes. I wouldn't choose differently, Commander." As the Silver Diamond departed, Ramirez exhaled a sigh she had been restraining. "Are you certain about this?" Evelyn observed the bikers as they prepared to ride, their movements fluid and purposeful. Through the window, the 2 Steel Serpents prospects across the street were hurriedly dialing numbers. She conceded, no. Yet, there are moments when collaborating with a familiar adversary is necessary to confront the unknown threat. The elements were shifting now. Cross was approaching, carrying with him the operation that had Logan so on edge. The Silver Diamond had arrived. Ramirez served as a possible connection to credible law enforcement. Now all Evelyn required was a strategy that would ensure everyone's survival. The darkness enveloped the quaint coastal town. As Evelyn's phone vibrated with an encrypted message from Derek, she eagerly opened the file, revealing intricate satellite imagery of 3 specific locations near the port. Warehouses linked to shell companies, yet unmistakably functioning as storage facilities for Steel Serpents. A sudden knock at her door broke the flow of her thoughts. Martha stood there, a mix of anxiety and resolve etched on her face. "Visitors have arrived," Martha murmured. "In the dimly lit alleyway. They claim to be your acquaintances." Evelyn clutched her Glock as she trailed behind Martha down the back stairs. In the dimly lit alley, she encountered Grayson and his sergeant-at-arms, accompanied by an unforeseen presence, Sheriff Cooper. "We have an issue," Cooper stated directly, without any introduction. "Cross is not merely arriving for a standard checkup. He is relocating his entire operation here for good." "What is the reason?" Evelyn inquired, even as she was already assembling the pieces in her mind. Grayson articulated his thoughts. "Seabrook Bay boasts an ideal remote-controlled local government with convenient access to shipping lanes, Yet that's not the true motivation behind it. He presented Evelyn with a folder. Our sources observed these individuals landing at the secluded airstrip on the outskirts of town. The surveillance photos revealed faces she recognized, individuals from the same smuggling network Evelyn had come across in Singapore during the operation that had spiraled out of control. They're consolidating, Evelyn whispered, hiding behind the steel serpents that shield a significant distribution hub. It only deteriorates, Cooper remarked. Mayor Richard convened an urgent council meeting this evening. They are casting their votes to reduce the police budget by 60%. I must let go of half my deputies, including Ramirez. With a decisive sweep, Evelyn wrapped things up, ensuring there was no formal opposition left standing. Grayson nodded with a somber expression. In 3 days, Cross will arrive. The boys under Logan's command are in the process of arranging extra security measures. Whatever they have in store, it's monumental. Evelyn examined the photographs once more. They'll anticipate issues with law enforcement and possibly rival gangs, but they won't foresee a naval intelligence operation on the horizon. Not quite, Cooper clarified. Not quite, Grayson smiled. Half of my team consists of ex-special forces, rangers, marine recon, and even a few Delta operators. We've stayed under the radar, blending in as just another motorcycle club, but we possess the skills. Evelyn arched an eyebrow. A motorcycle club comprised entirely of special operations veterans? Someone has to look out for the underdog, Grayson responded. For months, we've been monitoring Cross, collecting information, but we required someone with your unique expertise to synthesize everything. The back door swung open, revealing Ramirez as she emerged, clad in her deputy uniform. There's action happening. 3 Steel Serpents trucks have just departed from their compound, making their way towards the warehouse district. They're rearranging their resources, Evelyn mentioned, gathering their important assets in a way that enhances their security. She glanced over at Cooper. Sheriff, I understand your intentions to safeguard your community, but we require some formal backing for this matter. Cooper let out a deep sigh. What were you thinking? I require Ramirez and any deputies you have full confidence in to carry out some targeted enforcement. Traffic stops, license checks, every tactic to impede their progress and collect information. Cooper cautioned that they would voice their grievances to Richard. Allow them to proceed, it will lead to carelessness and suspicion. She transformed into Grayson. I require your team to begin rigorously evaluating their security measures. Nothing overt, merely sufficient to divert their gaze elsewhere. Grayson smiled broadly. I've already begun. My team took a few bikes past their checkpoints earlier, getting everyone excited about possible competitors entering the scene. Excellent. They will anticipate a clash of rival factions. They will not be anticipating a precise maneuver. Evelyn retrieved her phone, displaying Derek's satellite imagery for them to see. We have a tight timeline of 3 days to analyze their security, pinpoint weaknesses, and prepare for the main event. What is the primary event, precisely? Ramirez inquired. We will allow Cross to establish his operation precisely according to the plan. Allow him to introduce his global connections, his entire web of relationships. Then Evelyn offered a chilling smile. We will dismantle everything in one go. However, we will require an additional piece of the puzzle, Cooper remarked. What is that? Proof, Cooper responded. Sufficient to circumvent Richard and head directly to the federal authorities. The type of proof that sends even the most unscrupulous politicians scurrying for safety. Martha, having absorbed the conversation in silence, finally decided to chime in. I could lend a hand with that, Martha continued, noting that the diner has stood the test of time for 40 years. Everyone passes through this place at some point, even those who believe they are far too significant to be spotted in a setting like this. And everyone has something to say. Evelyn regarded the older woman with a fresh sense of admiration. Have you been monitoring things? Identities, timelines, dialogues? I might run a diner, but I know what's going on. I always felt that eventually, someone would seek to uncover the true happenings in this town. Martha retrieved a weathered leather notebook from the depths of her apron pocket. 9 years of reflections. Every detail from Richard's initial encounter with the Steel Serpents to the council members who began to indulge in extravagant lifestyles. Grayson emitted a soft whistle. Madam, you could very well be the most formidable individual present. Gather here again tomorrow night, Evelyn directed. Grayson, assemble your finest team. Sheriff, we require all the information Martha has compiled, along with any additional data your deputies can lawfully obtain. This is our one opportunity. As the gathering came to an end, Martha gently placed her hand on Evelyn's arm. Are you really doing this solely for the town? This matter is intimate. Evelyn reflected on her fallen teammates, on the mission that had unraveled. At times, personal drive simply translates to a greater effort in achieving the desired outcome. Once inside her apartment, Evelyn laid out the information, beginning to devise a strategy. Unbeknownst to Cross, he was stepping into a carefully laid trap that had been in the works for 3 long years. He believed he was broadening his dominion, yet he was actually walking into the line of fire. Her phone vibrated with a message from Derek. The satellite indicates increased activity. Whatever they have in store, it's monumental. Stay alert and keep an eye on your surroundings. Evelyn responded with a brief message. Rest assured, we are fully prepared for what lies ahead. The following morning ushered in a flurry of anxious movement throughout the town. Ramirez and the loyal deputies executed well-planned traffic stops on Steel Serpents vehicles, while Silver Diamond members asserted their dominance with meticulously coordinated drive-bys in gang territory. Evelyn occupied her familiar seat in Sullivan's diner, observing as Logan and his 2 lieutenants engaged in a heated argument across the street. Their irritation was apparent even from afar. Your coffee's getting cold, Martha remarked as she settled into the booth opposite her. She set her well-loved notebook down on the table. Here's all the information I have on Richard and his associates, a decade's worth of notes, dialogues, and unexpected meetings. Evelyn turned the pages, her demeanor growing more serious. Martha, this goes beyond mere weapons smuggling. They've been cleaning their funds through numerous enterprises in the area. What makes you think I began to monitor things? My messenger, may he find peace, often proclaimed that understanding is strength. After he passed away and the pressure mounted to sell the diner, I realized I had to secure some insurance. A disturbance outside captured their focus. Logan pressed one of his own men against the wall, his fury unmistakable. They felt the weight of the pressure mounting. Evelyn's phone vibrated, a notification from Grayson. Package is secured. Let's rendezvous at the old cannery. I must leave now, Evelyn informed Martha. Remain vigilant. The situation is bound to escalate before it improves. The forsaken cannery lingered at the town's edge, its corroded machinery standing as quiet guardians of forgotten times. Evelyn discovered Grayson and his core team gathered inside, accompanied by an unanticipated visitor, a bound and gagged prospect of the Steel Serpent. Grayson explained that he discovered him in our territory, thought he could offer some intriguing insights. Evelyn moved toward the frightened prospect. She recognized him, a fresh face among the ranks, still too young to savor a drink. What do they call you, young one? TT, Nathan stammered as Grayson pulled the gag away. Okay, Nathan, let's discuss the shipment that's arriving with Cross. Nathan's eyes grew large with surprise. I lack knowledge regarding... Save it, Evelyn interrupted him. You're in a position that requires you to handle the foundational tasks. Transporting, transferring, maintaining vigilance. You possess knowledge. The inquiry stands. Are you prepared to divulge those details, or must we employ our imagination? The young man gulped nervously. They are going to end my life. Kid, Grayson said in a low, gravelly voice. What do you suppose will happen when they discover you were caught on our territory? Nathan is in a tough spot. The words flowed freely. Delivery timelines, security shifts, the arrangement of the facility. Yet it was the final revelation that sent a chill down Evelyn's spine. He mentioned that they possess a certain list. Titles, places. Cross is delivering it with a personal touch. Logan claimed it holds greater value than the total of all the weapons put together. Evelyn and Grayson shared a glance. A list like that has the potential to unveil entire trafficking networks or disclose every corrupt official associated with Cross. One more thing, Nathan added, his voice trembling. They are aware that there is an adversary in their midst. Logan has summoned additional strength. Skilled individuals, not merely motorcycle enthusiasts. Once more, Evelyn's phone vibrated with a notification. Ramirez. Issue. Richard has just put Cooper on suspension and appointed Logan's brother as the interim sheriff. Find a secure place for him, Evelyn instructed Grayson, gesturing toward Nathan. He could prove to be valuable down the line. Upon returning to the diner, Evelyn discovered Ramirez seated alongside Cooper and Martha. The ex-sheriff appeared utterly vanquished. They are progressing more quickly than we anticipated, Cooper remarked. Richard referred to it as a standard administrative assessment. However, we are all aware of the implications of this. Ramirez noted that they are consolidating power ahead of Cross's arrival. It seems my badge will likely lose its value by morning. Evelyn weighed her choices carefully. With Cooper absent and genuine law enforcement undermined, they had forfeited their official disguise. Once more, her phone vibrated insistently. Derek, satellite reveals significant activity. A number of vehicles are approaching your position. Skilled professionals, not individuals from criminal organizations. Be cautious. Just as expected, 3 dark SUVs with shaded windows glided by the diner at a leisurely pace. They're completely abandoning any pretense, Ramirez muttered. There's no need for that, Evelyn replied. They believe they hold the reins of the town. That instills a sense of confidence in them. Overconfidence leads to carelessness. Martha observed the SUVs vanish as they rounded the corner. What are our next steps? We're changing the plan, Evelyn declared with conviction. Anticipation of pushback from law enforcement or competing gangs is on the horizon. We provide them with precisely what they anticipate, all while approaching from an unexpected angle. The silver diamond? Cooper inquired. A portion of it. However, we have one more option to consider. Evelyn took out her phone and called Derek. Do you recall that favor you promised me? I require immediate satellite coverage. I require you to place a few calls. It's time to resurrect some forgotten specters. As darkness enveloped the town, an increasing number of black SUVs rolled in. Skilled operatives collaborating with Steel Serpents affiliates, establishing checkpoints and defining patrol routes. They were gearing up for battle, yet their focus was on the incorrect type of confrontation. In the dimly lit basement of Sullivan's diner, Evelyn presented the updated strategy to her dedicated team. The silver diamond would fulfill their role, creating a ruckus and capturing the spotlight. Ramirez and Cooper would leverage their remaining connections in law enforcement. Martha's proof would be their insurance policy. Yet the true maneuver would unfold in secrecy, carried out by those adept at achieving the unthinkable. Tomorrow, Evelyn informed them, Cross would be arriving with his valuable list and his global connections. He anticipates discovering a town that he can fully dominate. Instead, he's about to discover the consequences of underestimating the wrong individuals. Outside, the thunder rumbled ominously over the bay. A tempest was brewing over Seabrook Bay. When it concluded, everything would have changed irrevocably. Evelyn's phone illuminated with a flurry of coded messages. The initial one came from Derek. Phantom Squad engaged. 6 operators, each one a former teammate. If you desire them, they're yours. The second came from a number I didn't recognize. Commander, this is Ghost Lead reporting in. The team is ready and in place, standing by for your instructions. The third came from Grayson. My team has informed me that Cross's advance unit is conducting reconnaissance. They exhibit a high level of detail and professionalism. These are not ordinary muscles. Evelyn drew her team in closer. Pay close attention. This is strictly confidential, so please keep it between us. In approximately 6 hours, Cross and his team will carry out what they believe to be a flawless takeover of this town. They possess the statistics, the armaments, and the strategic upper hand. They lack the insight into the true nature of their adversary. She unfurled an intricate map of Seabrook Bay. They observe the avenues, the clear paths ahead. They are closely observing law enforcement, the silver diamond, and anyone they suspect could oppose them. Yet they remain oblivious to the shadows, and therein lies our opportunity to strike. The ghost team, Ramirez murmured softly. Are they truly real? Evelyn gave a slight nod. 6 operatives, each with a background in elite special operations. Individuals indebted to me, adept at navigating the shadows. They have maintained their position since yesterday, charting patrol routes and pinpointing weaknesses. Cooper examined the map with keen interest. Despite their presence, we remain outnumbered. It's not about the numbers, Evelyn replied. Position, timing, and initiative are essential. Moreover, our goal isn't to engage in a direct confrontation. Martha opened her notebook with anticipation. I have identified each establishment they are utilizing for money laundering. Each facility where illicit goods are kept. Should we strike them all simultaneously? Chaos? Grayson completed. They will be uncertain about where to direct their attention in their response. Once more, Evelyn's phone vibrated with a notification. Derek, the last satellite observation indicates that Cross's convoy is on the move. A fleet of vehicles, fortified security measures. Expected arrival at Zoo 600. Absolutely perfect, Evelyn remarked. We have a total of 5 hours to arrange everything perfectly. Grayson, prepare your team. Ramirez, Cooper, please collaborate with the Ghost team's reconnaissance efforts. Martha, I understand. The elderly lady beamed with a warm smile. Remain hidden and allow the experts to handle the situation. Actually, Evelyn mentioned that she needs you to open the diner at the usual time. Behave as you usually would. The individuals associated with Cross will be observing closely. If anything changes, they'll realize something isn't right. Martha adjusted her apron with care. Darling, I've been pouring coffee for wrongdoers for years, all while collecting evidence on them. I believe I can manage another morning. As the storm raged outside, Evelyn meticulously inspected her weapons for the last time. Keep in mind, she reminded her team, we're actively engaging, we are on a quest. These individuals arrived at our doorstep believing we would be simple targets. Let's reveal the consequences when hunters find themselves hunted. The downpour grew heavier as adversarial agents navigated the shadowy avenues. Their night vision gear instilled a sense of assurance, yet Evelyn understood it would ultimately become their vulnerability. They gazed through a digital green haze, while her people were intimately familiar with every shadow. Ghost lead status, Evelyn murmured into her radio. Initial squad advancing into the target area. 20 operatives advancing in teams of 4. Powerful armaments, explosive equipment. Grayson Silver Diamond are ready and in place, prepared to unleash mayhem at your signal. Evelyn peered through her scope, observing as the enemy's lead element drew near to Sullivan's diner. They navigated with precision, assessing every angle and scrutinizing each corner. Expert, risky, yet expected. Proceed with Phase 2, she commanded. Throughout the town, the Silver Diamonds sprang into action, their motorcycles rumbling through the streets in what seemed like a frantic retreat. The adversary operatives responded precisely as instructed, dividing their units to probe the emerging danger. Divisions are occurring, as reported by Ghost 2. The second convoy is en route to engage the bikers. Ramirez at this moment. From her vantage point at the historic sheriff's office, Ramirez activated the meticulously arranged devices. Strategic transformers failed, casting new areas of the town into shadow while brightening others. The adversary's night vision gear unexpectedly turned into a disadvantage as they struggled with swiftly shifting light scenarios. Several targets have been disoriented. Confirmation received from Ghost 3. Taking action to connect. The initial shots rang out in silence, as silenced firearms eliminated crucial figures within the enemy's command hierarchy. By the time the realization of the attack set in, the Ghost team had seamlessly transitioned to new positions, vanishing like shadows in the night. Commander, Derek's voice crackled in her earpiece. The third convoy is maintaining its position. Their leader is quite astute. He has come to the unsettling realization that something is amiss. Excellent, Evelyn responded. The package serves that purpose. At the perfect moment, she sent out a surge of encrypted information, the counterfeit list, from a spot close to the heart of the town. As anticipated, the adversary's electronic warfare unit detected the transmission. Movement has been reported by Ghost Lead. All units are moving towards the transmission source. Evelyn offered a wry smile. Stage 3. All units act freely as they see fit. The tempest overhead served as an ideal shroud as the true conflict commenced. The Silver Diamond forsook their decoy run, opting instead to execute synchronized assaults on the enemy's vehicles. Ghost team operators eliminated anyone attempting to call for assistance or set up a command post, yet it was the townsfolk who demonstrated the greatest effectiveness. Each doorway that seemed to promise freedom was, in fact, a meticulously set trap. Each shadow hid a guardian who understood precisely where to aim. The adversary operatives encountered specters, perpetually unable to gain dominance or unify their ranks. Commander, Grayson's voice was laced with a palpable tension, brimming with restrained enthusiasm. They are retreating to designated rally points. No, Evelyn commanded. They are retreating to the desired position. The deceptive list of data had guided them directly into the town's historic warehouse district, a labyrinth of structures equipped with motion sensors and strategically positioned firing spots. As the adversary operatives scrambled for refuge, they discovered themselves being driven into ever tighter confines. What's the current status of the Ghost team? 15 targets taken down, over 20 injured. The remainder is housed within the warehouse sector. Evelyn changed the channel. Derek, can you tell me what the third convoy is up to? At last, the moment has come to settle in. Their leader must have recognized that his forward units are being annihilated. Flawless. Ramirez, commenced the concluding sequence. The last of the streetlights flickered out, enveloping the town in an impenetrable darkness. The tempest above grew fiercer, with rain pounding relentlessly as lightning cleaved the heavens. Through her thermal scope, Evelyn observed the remaining enemy forces huddled together in the warehouses. Their training instructed them to unify, to secure a stronghold. Instead, they were following her plan perfectly, assembling in a single location. Attention all units, Phase 4 is now in effect. Once more, I declare that Phase 4 is weapons-free. The unsuspecting enemy operators were caught completely off guard. The Ghost Team snipers eliminated their leaders, while the Silver Diamond blocked their escape paths. Meanwhile, the townspeople, under the guidance of Cooper and Ramirez, unleashed a relentless assault that kept them trapped. Yet it was Evelyn who struck the decisive blow, gliding through the rain like a specter as she neared the main warehouse where the enemy commander had fortified his final stronghold. The individual who had commanded the third convoy, the one who had restrained himself, believing he possessed greater wisdom than the others. It's time to demonstrate just how mistaken he truly was. All units, maintain your positions, she commanded. This is a matter close to my heart. With another flash of lightning illuminating the night, Evelyn approached the entrance of the warehouse. The true battle was on the verge of starting. Flashes of lightning cast eerie light across the warehouse as Evelyn glided quietly through the darkness. The thermal scope detected 6 heat signatures on the upper level. The adversary's leader and his surviving elite squad. Ghost lead, maintain overwatch, she murmured. Everyone stays within these walls. Understood, Commander. We're here to assist you. The warehouse floor resembled a labyrinth, filled with aged machinery and stacked storage crates. Ideal concealment, yet equally suited for an ambush. Evelyn picked up on the enemy team's hushed exchanges, their tones resonating with an unsettling familiarity. She came to the realization, having been in special operations, former Navy SEALs turned mercenaries. Commander Derek's voice resonated in her earpiece. Identified their leader. Adrian Wolf. He found himself in Singapore. Evelyn felt a chill run through her veins. Cross was present on the day her teammates lost their lives, engaged with a different contractor. He vanished before anyone had the chance to probe his involvement in the operation's collapse. Thus, Cross's voice reverberated throughout the warehouse. The renowned Commander Carter. It's been quite a while since I was in Singapore. Insufficient length, Reaper. You're aware of the purpose of our gathering. Provide us with the list, and perhaps some of these townsfolk will make it through the night. Evelyn glided through the shadows, shifting her stance, yet remaining concealed. Are you still concealing yourself behind civilian casualties, Cross? Similar to Singapore, a sudden eruption of gunfire responded, shots affecting the very spot she occupied moments earlier. These were not mere coincidences. Cross's team was attempting to maneuver her into a deadly trap. Singapore was all about business, Cross declared. This is exactly how it is. Do you honestly believe your quaint little town can withstand the storm that's approaching? Steel Serpents was merely the starting point. Ghost Team, what's the update on the other forces, controlled and subdued? The Silver Diamond are conducting a thorough cleanup operation. The only targets left are within your premises. Do you hear that, Reaper? Evelyn responded. Your support isn't arriving. Increased gunfire, yet this time it feels more deliberate. Frustration was mounting as errors piled up. Two operators advanced to encircle her position, yet Evelyn had already vanished. "It seems you might not fully understand, do you?" Cross's voice drew nearer. "The Steel Serpents organization was not the apex of the hierarchy. We exist. That list encompasses all the essentials. Each operation, each contract, each assassin for hire. With that information, we manage everything." "Incorrect," Evelyn responded, her voice resonating. "Nothing is under your control. Not any longer." She activated the devices that Ramirez had set up earlier. Explosions erupted on the upper level, succeeded by a haze of smoke grenades. The adversary's night vision gear turned into a liability as the warehouse was engulfed in blinding light and swirling smoke. "Ghost team, outside dangers?" "Affirmative, Commander. The structure is fortified. No additional support is on the way." Evelyn ascended, leveraging the turmoil to her benefit. She caught the first operator completely off guard. A swift blow to the throat, followed by a precise hit to the temple. Quiet, effective. The second attempted to call for assistance, yet was met with nothing but static. The radio jammers in the town remained operational, severing all lines of communication. "It's finished, Reaper," Evelyn shouted. "Your soldiers have either fallen or been taken prisoner. Your plan has been compromised. Yield at this moment." "Is it similar to how your team gave up in Singapore?" The provocation was designed to infuriate her, to throw her off her game. Rather, it provided exquisite clarity. Amidst the haze and flickering beams, Evelyn glided like a specter. The third and fourth operators succumbed to accurate shots. The fifth managed to unleash a flurry of shots before Evelyn's blade found its mark in his throat. At that moment, it was only her and Cross. "Do you realize what your issue is, Carter?" She could hear his voice trailing behind her now. "Your mindset remains that of a sailor. Integrity, responsibility, safeguarding the vulnerable. The world no longer operates in that manner." "You're mistaken," Evelyn said, turning to face him. "That's precisely how it functions. You simply overlooked it." They shifted in unison. Cross was exceptional, truly among the finest. His blows landed with accuracy and force. Yet Evelyn possessed something he lacked, a motivation to succeed that transcended mere wealth or influence. The clash was fierce and tightly contested. Fractures echoed, crimson streamed. Cross delivered a devastating strike to her ribs. Yet Evelyn took it all in, responding with a blow that fractured his knee. "Ghost team status?" she gasped between breaths. "Understood, Commander. Let's bring this to a close." As Cross faltered, Evelyn recognized her chance. The identical maneuver she had executed innumerable times during practice. The lesson imparted to every sailor. "This is intended for Singapore," she declared, and made her move. Cross's eyes grew large with shock as he plummeted. His final utterance was scarcely audible. "You have no idea what you've unleashed." Evelyn loomed above him, her breath coming in quick, heavy bursts. "Indeed, I do." "Derek, I'm uploading now," Evelyn said into her radio, standing over Cross's unconscious form. The authentic list, retrieved from their servers as they pursued our diversion. Each name, each operation, is now being relayed to every prominent intelligence agency across the globe. The tempest beyond was at last subsiding as the first light of dawn illuminated Seabrook Bay. Through her thermal scope, Evelyn observed as the remainder of Cross's team was gathered by the Ghost operators and Silver Diamond. The Steel Serpents who remained were capitulating, coming to terms with the fact that their shield had vanished. "Commander," the voice of Ghost Lead echoed through her radio. "We have successfully secured the port facilities and discovered something intriguing. Shipping manifests, bank records, political payoffs. This situation extends far beyond mere weapons smuggling." Evelyn swiftly approached Cross, binding his hands with zip ties. "What is the depth?" "At the very least, at the state level, perhaps even beyond." Cross was truthful about at least one aspect. This surpassed the Steel Serpents. Ramirez's voice entered the channel. "Evelyn, there's activity happening at City Hall. Richard and a significant portion of the council are attempting to depart from the town. Cooper's team has them under control. Maintain their presence. They will likely be approached by the FBI for a conversation." Evelyn pressed the button on her radio once more. "Grayson, what's the latest on the streets?" "Immaculate. My team is handling security alongside the remaining deputies. The town is secured and under strict lockdown. Everyone must be accounted for, no exceptions." With a keen eye, Evelyn conducted a thorough final inspection of the warehouse, collecting any crucial information that may have eluded them. Within Cross's jacket, she discovered a phone equipped with numerous encrypted channels and a compact notebook brimming with codes, additional clues for the federal authorities to decipher. Martha's voice crackled to life unexpectedly over the radio. They had provided her with an extra unit to maintain communication. "Darling, it may be a good idea to return to the diner. It seems we have some visitors. Confrontational? Unless the FBI has become significantly more assertive since my last observation, I would describe them as amicable. Around 12 agents in tailored suits, exuding an air of authority. Their supervisor claims she is familiar with you." "Rodriguez?" With a gentle curve of her lips, Evelyn beamed. Special Agent Rodriguez served as her liaison throughout the Singapore operation. "Inform her that I will arrive in 10 minutes. "And what about Martha? Brewing a pot of coffee would be great." The morning stretches ahead, seemingly endless. The atmosphere at Sullivan's diner felt almost dreamlike. FBI agents interacted with members of the Silver Diamond. Deputies engaged in conversation with the ghost team operators, who had already transitioned into their civilian attire. Martha navigated the scene, armed with steaming pots of coffee and her renowned apple pie, ready to delight everyone around her. "Commander Carter?" Rodriguez acknowledged her with a courteous nod. "Perhaps I ought to express it this way." The former commander who, against all odds, unveiled a sprawling international crime syndicate from the humble setting of a small-town diner. "Nope, I was simply fortunate to be in the right spot at the right moment." Rodriguez beamed. "Indeed. And I guess the skilled professionals who assisted in dismantling Cross's organization were merely in the right place at the right time. Or the reality that the Silver Diamond MC serves as a facade for ex-Special Forces operatives." Grayson, having just entered, chuckled. Sometimes the most effective way to remain unnoticed is to blend seamlessly into the surroundings. No one pays any mind to another motorcycle club. "For years, we've been monitoring Cross," Rodriguez said, as he laid out the files on the counter. "Always felt just out of reach. Then you arrive, stir up chaos with a local gang, and in just a week, his whole operation crumbles. Care to elaborate on that?" Evelyn graciously took a cup of coffee from Martha. "At times, those who intimidate must realize they have chosen the wrong individual to confront. The list you sent is already making an impact. Criminal networks across the globe are in a state of turmoil. Officials tainted by corruption are stepping down. We possess ample proof to dismantle entities we were previously unaware of." Cooper approached, his demeanor weary, yet content. "Richard and the council are spilling the beans. It appears they have been financially supported by Cross for years, assisting him in establishing shell companies and conveniently ignoring his growing operation." "The Steel Serpents?" Evelyn inquired. Ramirez reported that the majority of the rank and file are currently in custody. Logan and his close companions attempted to flee, but the Silver Diamond caught up with them at the county line. They seemed quite talkative as well, particularly after we presented the evidence that Martha gathered. Martha beamed with a charming innocence. It's fascinating to observe what individuals will express when they believe the longtime diner proprietor isn't listening. Rodriguez shook her head, filled with admiration. A naval officer, a motorcycle gang comprised of special operations veterans, a deputy sheriff, and a diner proprietor harboring a hidden notebook. It seems like the setup for a rather unfortunate punchline. Occasionally, the most effective strategies emerge from unexpected partnerships, Evelyn responded. In a hushed tone, Rodriguez spoke about the operations. "Your elusive team of spirits? Is there a possibility they would like to take on additional projects? There are additional illicit operations that might benefit from their focus." "You'd have to ask them," Evelyn smiled, "if you can find them." The phantom operators had vanished, leaving behind no evidence of their existence. They would resume their everyday routines until the moment arose when their presence was required once more. It was their method. From the diner's windows, Evelyn observed Seabrook Bay awakening once more. The morning sun illuminated the remnants of the previous night's conflict, yet nothing appeared beyond the reach of restoration. What stood out most was the sight of townspeople confidently strolling through the streets, unafraid and with their heads held high. What comes next? Martha inquired while replenishing the coffee cups. Now, Cooper declared, we begin anew. Effective law enforcement. Authentic business growth. Execute tasks with precision. Calls have already come in from nearby towns, Grayson noted. It appears that news is circulating regarding the events that transpired here. Other communities facing comparable challenges, seeking assistance. Evelyn arched an eyebrow. Seeking assistance or searching for optimism? Ramirez likely responded with both. Individuals must understand that they have the power to confront bullies, that a life free from fear is within their reach. And if they require more than mere hope, Rodriguez inquired sharply. Evelyn surveyed the diner with a keen eye. In the presence of Martha's quiet strength, one can see Cooper's unwavering dedication, Ramirez's relentless determination, and Grayson's exemplary professionalism. A group that formed serendipitously, yet demonstrated greater efficacy than any formal task force. Then they'll discover it, she concluded at last, one way or another. A message from Derek made her phone buzz. Satellite tracking reveals comparable activities being established in 3 additional coastal towns. Our ghost team is ready and waiting, should you require assistance. With a gentle curve of her lips, Evelyn beamed. The battle was far from finished. The journey was only starting. Yet this time, she had company in her struggle. She possessed a crew, a mission, and a sanctuary deserving of defense. Martha, she exclaimed, it's time to gather some coffee supplies. It seems like your diner is destined to remain bustling. Martha gave a playful wink. Darling, my coffee maker is perpetually prepared, and my journal has an abundance of empty pages waiting to be filled. Ultimately, someone needs to document the true happenings in these quaint little towns. Outside, the storm had fully receded, revealing a sky as unblemished as Evelyn's conscience. Cross and his operation had come to a close, yet more significantly, Seabrook Bay had discovered its true strength. The town was forever changed. It would be an improvement. 3 months following the dismantling of Cross's operation, Sullivan's diner buzzed with activity like never before. The basement, previously just a storage area, had transformed into what Martha humorously referred to as the Situation Room, a fortified gathering spot for Evelyn and her growing circle of supporters. Evelyn settled into her familiar booth, poring over the reports from Grayson's teams regarding unusual activity along the coast. Ramirez, having officially taken on the role of sheriff following Cooper's retirement, approached her with a steaming cup of fresh coffee. I've got something intriguing, Ramirez remarked, pushing a file across the table. Do you recall the warehouse raids from last week? Discovered records connecting 3 state officials to Cross' previous network. They're in a frenzy since the list became known. Evelyn's gaze drifted to the television in the corner, displaying scenes of yet another notable arrest. A munitions merchant linked to Cross, dismantled in a bordering state by unidentified agents. She smiled, acknowledging the craftsmanship of Ghost Team. Ramirez remarked that your friends have been quite occupied. Which friends? I can clearly observe the impact of efficient law enforcement in action. The bell above the diner's door rang softly as Cooper stepped inside, accompanied by Grayson and Rodriguez, each wearing a grave expression. Issue? Evelyn inquired. Rodriguez set a laptop on the table, displaying surveillance photos. Recall when we believed Cross operation was solely focused on weapons? It appears that was merely the beginning. Evidence has emerged indicating that human trafficking routes are utilizing the same corridors as the shipments of weapons. Cooper mentioned that several small towns are involved. Local officials have been compromised. Does that ring a bell? Evelyn examined the photographs. The pattern emerged distinctly. The same techniques that Cross had utilized are now being adopted by others seeking to occupy the power void. How many towns are there? She inquired. Grayson responded with a count of at least 6 that we are aware of. All diminutive, secluded, defenseless, much like Seabrook Bay had been. Martha arrived, bringing with her another round of coffee and that legendary apple pie of hers. It seems there's a need for action regarding that situation. It's already taking place, Rodriguez stated. A federal task force is in the process of being assembled. Extremely informal, highly questionable. They are in search of an individual to oversee ground operations. Evelyn arched an eyebrow. Let me take a wild guess, you suggested someone? Indeed, Grayson interjected. We all participated. The Silver Diamond require guidance for their specialized missions. The Ghost team functions more effectively under known leadership, and the presence of a sheriff's special advisor offers valuable protection. Additionally, Martha remarked, you require an activity to fill the time between instructing those self-defense classes. The classes were Evelyn's brainchild, aimed at empowering the townspeople to safeguard themselves while fostering confidence and a sense of community. The queue had now stretched to 3 months. What's the situation here? Evelyn inquired. This town remains in need of safeguarding. Ramirez beamed. We have gained some insights. Moreover, you won't be too distant. Simply broadening the concept of one's own domain. Evelyn's phone vibrated, signaling a message from Derek. There's progress on those trafficking cases. Urgent matter. The team is ready and awaiting your call. She surveyed her unexpected family. The subtle power of Martha, Ramirez's resolute guidance, Cooper's unwavering insight, the strategic prowess of Grayson, Rodriguez's formal endorsement. Everything is interconnected in a grander scheme now. A collective committed to safeguarding the vulnerable and defenseless. Do you understand what the true issue was with Cross and similar operations? Evelyn remarked, examining the surveillance photos closely. They target towns like Seabrook Bay, believing that small communities are vulnerable. They confuse kindness with weakness, silence as a sign of fear. It's often overlooked that the essence of small towns lies in their strong sense of community. Martha continued, pouring coffee into the cups, on individuals caring for one another. Precisely. Evelyn pressed on. Cross believed he could dominate this town by wielding fear and corruption. He never grasped that true strength isn't measured by the number of weapons or the amount of wealth one possesses. It arises from individuals uniting as one. Ramirez has completed his task. Once more, Evelyn's phone vibrated with a notification. This time, a communication from Ghost Lead. Team is ready. Several targets have been pinpointed. Ready for your direction. A patrol of Silver Diamond thundered by outside. Their presence has become a source of solace for the townspeople, replacing the once prevalent fear. From the diner's windows, Evelyn observed the vibrant life of Seabrook Bay unfolding. Enterprises are resuming operations. Families strolling with confidence. The community is coming back with renewed strength. Do you know what I discovered during my time in the Navy? Evelyn remarked, gazing at her team. The most successful operations don't necessarily hinge on possessing the largest manpower or the most cutting-edge technology. At times, it's essential to have the appropriate individuals positioned correctly, collaborating for the right motivations. Rodriguez emphasized that other towns could benefit from that same lesson. Evelyn gave a slight nod. Cross and his team viewed small towns as simple prey. They misjudged Seabrook Bay. We will ensure that their assumptions about these other towns are proven incorrect. Grayson cautioned that expanding operations will present challenges. We require additional resources and enhanced coordination. Martha smiled, relieved that we had a diner with a secure basement and an abundance of coffee. And it's fortunate that we have individuals skilled in navigating the shadows, Ramirez added. A subtle nod directed towards a Ghost team member who lingered silently in the corner, seamlessly merging with the bustling morning throng. Evelyn's phone illuminated with a flurry of messages. Derek, satellite coverage has been confirmed for the upcoming operation, Phantom Prospect. Groups are stationed at 3 different sites. Rock, the Silver Diamond stand poised for action. Rodriguez, federal support is ready and waiting, though it's not officially documented. Well, Evelyn remarked as she opened her laptop, reveal the insights we have regarding these towns. Let us extend our support to them, just as we did for Seabrook Bay. Martha set a freshly baked slice of pie before her. Keep this in mind, dear. No matter how far you wander, there's always a place you can call home right here. My coffee pot is perpetually brewing, and my notebook's filled with endless possibilities, she added with a playful wink. Evelyn beamed. The battle continued. It was transforming, expanding, yet now she possessed something entirely new to her experience. A genuine collective, a distinct aim, a place truly deserving of our struggle. Cross believed he was constructing a grand empire. Yet, he had truly contributed to the creation of something immensely more potent. A collective of individuals committed to safeguarding the defenseless and confronting oppressors wherever they arise. "All right," Evelyn said, addressing her team. "It's time to dive in and start creating. There are towns that need our help." The sun dipped below the horizon of Seabrook Bay as Derek's emergency alert pierced the evening calm. A significant operation is taking shape in Cedar Grove. The pattern aligns with Cross's strategy guide. Numerous adversarial factions are gathering. Local law enforcement has been undermined. Evelyn examined the satellite imagery that Derek had provided. Cedar Grove lay 3 hours to the north, a quaint coastal village reminiscent of Seabrook Bay. There are 5,000 individuals in the population, alone, exposed. Ideal opportunity for illicit organizations aiming to expand their influence. What information do we possess? During the emergency briefing in Sullivan's basement, Evelyn inquired. Rodriguez displayed the files on the screen. The town has experienced a rise in criminal activity in the last month. The Night Raiders, a motorcycle gang, were the first to arrive, commenced with the typical extortion schemes. We are observing the same indicators that were present here. Dishonest authorities. Unusual activity at the port. Mysterious affluence. They are adhering to Cross's template precisely. Grayson took note, utilizing the group as a facade while they orchestrate the true mission. Ramirez indicated the surveillance images. These individuals are far from typical gang members. Observe their patterns of movement, expert military training. They're employing the Night Raiders in a manner reminiscent of Cross's tactics with the Steel Serpents. Community pushback? Evelyn inquired. Some, Cooper responded. The sheriff is tidy, yet secluded. The mayor is under the raiders' influence. The town is split, fearful, just as we once were. Martha, having been silently jotting down her thoughts, finally interjected. I received a call from the owner of a diner there. Mary Prescott, she has been collecting evidence in the same way I did, indicates that tensions are reaching a critical point. A significant shipment is set to pass through the port tomorrow night. Evelyn's phone vibrated once more. Phantom guidance. Team in an advanced position. Heavy enemy presence confirmed. There are a minimum of 40 operators. Thoroughly prepared. Resistance is anticipated. Excellent, Evelyn remarked. Let's exceed their expectations. Rock, Silver Diamond will be prepared in 2 hours. 15 riders. Every individual who has served in combat. Ramirez, I can allocate 6 deputies. Everyone is now well versed in the updated protocols. Rodriguez, as is customary, there's unofficial federal support. I've assembled 3 teams of agents who would be thrilled to find themselves serendipitously in the perfect spot at the perfect moment. With a thoughtful nod, Evelyn began to craft the plan. They anticipate traditional opposition, community police force, perhaps opposing factions. We provide them with what they anticipate, allow them to believe they have it all figured out. In the meantime, the Phantom Squad strikes from the darkness, Cooper concluded. Precisely. Martha, please reach out to Mary. Advise her to prepare, but prioritize her safety. Her evidence will play a vital role later on. I've taken care of it, dear. She possesses a depth of intelligence that often goes unrecognized, much like another individual I am familiar with. Evelyn unfurled a map of Cedar Grove. They may have their statistics and tools, but we possess something far superior. Encounter. We recognize their strategy because it's familiar to us. What truly matters is that we understand how to overcome it. Her phone illuminated with notifications from the team. Derek. Confirmation of satellite coverage received. Comprehensive oversight solution. Phantom guidance. Packages have been identified and are now awaiting the go order. Rock. Silver Diamond advance with power. Estimated time of arrival is 3 hours. Ramirez. Mobile deputies. Transporting in non-military vehicles. Keep in mind, Evelyn spoke to her team. These individuals perceive small towns as vulnerable opportunities. They believe they can stroll in, purchase a handful of officials, intimidate the locals, and seize control. They are on the verge of discovering the same truth that Cross uncovered. At times, the most perilous danger is the one that approaches unnoticed. When it comes to lessons, Martha contributed. Mary claims that the Night Raiders have been exerting pressure on local businesses, intimidating individuals. It seems they could use a nudge regarding their choice of targets. With a gentle curve of her lips, Evelyn beamed. Let's create an unforgettable experience for them. The following hours unfolded in a whirlwind of motion. The Silver Diamond set off in small clusters, choosing varied paths to remain inconspicuous. Ramirez's deputies set out, blending in as ordinary traffic. The ghost team has submitted their final positions in the vicinity of Cedar Grove. Even Martha's network of diner proprietors along the coast sprang into action, offering safe havens and gathering crucial information. As Evelyn prepared for the operation, she surveyed the basement, taking in her core team. What began as a straightforward act of confronting bullies had transformed into something far more significant. A dedicated team focused on safeguarding small towns from those who seek to exploit them. Recall Seabrook Bay, she instructed them. Recall the sensation of fear, the belief that you stood solitary against an overwhelming force. Cedar Grove has that atmosphere at this moment. This evening we will demonstrate to them that they are not isolated. We demonstrate that small towns have the power to stand their ground. Her phone vibrated for the last time. Michael, a procession of vehicles makes its way into Cedar Grove. Powerful armaments, skilled specialists. Whatever scheme is in the works, it's set to unfold shortly. Excellent. Evelyn responded, as we are as well. Rodriguez inspected her firearm. When I was tasked with looking into Cross's operation, I certainly didn't anticipate becoming a member of a covert team dedicated to safeguarding small towns. Isn't life amusing? Martha remarked, distributing steaming coffee and travel mugs. Occasionally, your genuine passion reveals itself in the most surprising of locations. Get ready, Evelyn commanded. The ghost team has assumed their positions. The Silver Diamond are approaching the objective. Ramirez's team is ready and positioned. It's time to demonstrate to everyone why small towns should never be underestimated. As they departed, Evelyn reflected on the significant transformations that had unfolded since that morning in Sullivan's diner. When two bikers believed they could unsettle a serene woman sipping her coffee, a series of events had been set in motion that would transform not only Seabrook Bay but also small towns along the coast. Prepared to ensure some new tormentors rethink their decisions? Ramirez inquired, adjusting her tactical gear. Evelyn loaded a round into her firearm. Fully prepared. Let's show the night raiders the importance of choosing their battles wisely. Outside, the engines came alive with a powerful roar as the team readied themselves for departure. The night unfolded with clarity, stars twinkling brilliantly above Seabrook Bay. In a distant northern realm, Cedar Grove was on the brink of discovering that they were not solitary in their struggle. The individuals attempting to seize control of their town were on the brink of discovering a tough truth about the folly of underestimating small communities and the guardians who stood by them. The approach to Cedar Grove was carried out with meticulous attention to detail. With meticulous precision, Evelyn's team advanced in phases, ensuring they remained under the radar. The operators of the ghost team meticulously charted the patrol routes and security placements of the night raiders, pinpointing weaknesses in their defenses. Ghost lead status, Evelyn murmured into her radio as they approached the town limits. Adversarial troops have gathered in significant numbers near the harbor. The primary team seems to be gearing up for a significant delivery. Additional units monitoring the town center. The sheriff's office is completely encircled. Confirmed, Grayson has been added. My scouts have indicated the presence of heavy weaponry, alongside a blend of skilled operators and gang affiliates. They anticipate conflict, yet their gaze is misdirected. Evelyn examined the satellite feed displayed on her tablet. The night raiders established checkpoints at every significant road leading into town, yet they neglected the old logging trails, leaving them unmonitored. Beginner's oversight. Ramirez, are your team members in place? Indeed, officers are dispersed throughout the town, all in plain clothes, prepared to proceed at your command. Rodriguez, teams from the FBI are poised and ready, camouflaged as fishing boats just off the coast. They will take action as soon as we gather proof of unlawful behavior. Evelyn's phone illuminated with a message from Mary Prescott, the proprietor of the local diner. A sizable crowd just entered, all carrying weapons, making an effort to conceal them. Their leaders are convening with the mayor in my back room. I have the recorder operating just as Martha demonstrated. Well done, Martha noted, overseeing the communications from the mobile command center they had established in a converted RV. She's got a cool composure, that one. Evelyn examined the tactical display with keen interest. The night raiders transformed Cedar Grove into an impenetrable stronghold, yet they fell into the same trap that Cross had. They were gearing up for a traditional attack, unaware that their most significant danger would arise from within. All units, commence Phase 1. Evelyn commanded. Throughout Cedar Grove, meticulously orchestrated diversions commenced. The Silver Diamond made their bold entrance from the east, capturing everyone's attention. Deputies under Ramirez's command, strategically placed in unmarked vehicles, caused a significant traffic congestion at the primary checkpoint. Phantom team operatives set off false alarms at multiple warehouses. Ghost Lead reported that they are dividing their forces, reminiscent of the situation at Seabrook Bay. Evelyn peered through her scope, observing the enemy commanders as they struggled to orchestrate their response. The radio communications, captured by Derek's equipment, revealed an escalating sense of confusion. Strange figures were drawing near from the east, a voice crackled through the air. Several civilian vehicles are obstructing Route 1. There may be a breach occurring at Warehouse 3. No, it's Warehouse 5. Hold on, alarms are sounding at every location. Grayson noted with a sense of satisfaction that they were losing control of their security perimeter. Evelyn pressed the button on her radio. Stage 2. Ghost Team, you are cleared to engage designated targets at will. Grayson, commence your journey. Ramirez, ignite the fire. The true assault commenced with meticulous accuracy. Covert team operatives neutralized crucial adversary leaders using silenced firearms. The Silver Diamond diversion evolved into a true offensive against the Night Raiders' perimeter defenses. Ramirez's team stepped out from their civilian disguises, focusing on particular adversaries pinpointed by their intelligence reports. Mary notes that the leaders are in a state of panic. Martha conveyed, "He's attempting to summon backup, yet our jammers are effectively disrupting all communications." Excellent. It's time to move on to Phase 3. Evelyn advanced with her dedicated team, a blend of ghost operators and seasoned Silver Diamond veterans. They made their way to the port facility where, based on their intelligence, the Night Raiders were gearing up to accept a significant shipment. "Sir?" Ghost Lead's voice was taut with restrained enthusiasm. "This is something you must witness. Main storage area of the Northwest Warehouse." Evelyn veered towards the destination, gliding quietly amidst the tumult of conflict. Within the confines of the warehouse, she uncovered the secrets that the Night Raiders had concealed. A multitude of shipping containers, each brimming with arms, narcotics, and meticulous records of illicit activities. She whispered, much like Cross, "They're not merely seizing control of the town. A distribution hub is being established." "Evelyn," Ramirez's voice interrupted with a sense of urgency. "There's activity happening at the diner. The leader is attempting to escape. That's not going to occur." Evelyn changed the channel. 3 to 4 operatives gather at Sullivan's diner. Grayson severed their avenues of escape. "Martha, please inform Mary to step aside." The leader of the Night Raiders took 3 steps out of the diner's back door, only to be met by the imposing presence of ghost team operators closing in around him. In the midst of the chaos, the mayor attempted to make a discreet exit, only to be intercepted by Ramirez's deputies. "Commander, Rodriguez has reached out. We possess ample evidence. FBI teams are advancing." Evelyn observed as the meticulously planned operation unraveled before her eyes. The Night Raiders, with their leadership dismantled and their strategies in disarray, started to capitulate. The skilled individuals, recognizing they had been outsmarted, attempted to escape but discovered that all avenues were obstructed. Similar to Seabrook Bay, Cooper listened intently through the radio. It caught them completely off guard. Due to their repeated errors, Evelyn responded. They believed they could dominate a quaint little town by wielding fear and intimidation. They failed to grasp that small towns possess a unique resilience. With the dawn breaking over Cedar Grove, the magnitude of their triumph unfolded before them. The Night Raiders found themselves in custody, their illicit operations laid bare. The officials, tainted by corruption, were being taken into custody. And above all, the townsfolk were stepping out from their dwellings, awakening to the truth that they were at last liberated. With a sense of fulfillment, Martha shared that Mary is offering free coffee to all, declaring it a fresh start for Cedar Grove. Evelyn smiled, recalling familiar moments in Seabrook Bay from months past. Ensure she understands that she has company now. No small town stands alone, not while we're here. A message from Derek made her phone vibrate, a comparable trend observed in 3 additional coastal towns, with standby teams ready to respond. It seems our task is far from complete, Ramirez noted. Evelyn inspected her firearm, her mind racing ahead to the upcoming mission. It's an ongoing journey, and that's perfectly fine. It's essential for someone to advocate for these communities and remind the bullies to think twice about who they choose to confront, Martha added. Indeed, Evelyn concurred, observing the FBI boats draw near to the harbor. Sometimes the most perilous individual isn't necessarily the one leading the largest crew or wielding the most firepower. At times, it's the reserved woman savoring her coffee in a quaint diner tucked away in a small town. I'm simply biding my time, anticipating the moment when someone might err and stir up some chaos. Half a year following the dismantling of Cross's operation, Evelyn's network had expanded into realms she had never envisioned. The basement of Sullivan's Diner had transformed into the command hub for safeguarding small towns scattered along the coast. Martha's wall of knowledge had grown to encompass maps, photographs, and artifacts gathered from various missions. Ramirez announced, stepping into the basement command center, that there was movement. Do you recall the shipping manifests we discovered in Cedar Grove? I've successfully aligned them with the activities in Millbrook Harbor. Evelyn lifted her gaze from the tactical display. Is it the fishing town? What is the underlying structure? Identical to Seabrook Bay and Cedar Grove. A small group arrives first, beginning to intimidate those around them. Next, the experts come in, ready to establish shipping operations. Grayson, having kept a close eye on the communications, contributed his insights. A group refers to themselves as the Harbor Kings. The local law enforcement is already compromised. The mayor's son has just acquired a new yacht that seems beyond his financial means. Cooper noted that they had completely abandoned any pretense of subtlety. It feels as though they are adhering to a script. Rodriguez confirmed that they are distributing new files. A pattern has been identified. Once we terminated Cross's operation, his associates dispersed. Now, they are each endeavoring to reconstruct his empire, bit by bit. Quaint communities, unscrupulous leaders, and genuine enterprises masquerading as facades. Evelyn's phone vibrated, signaling an update from Ghost Lead. Surveillance has verified significant shipments of heavy weaponry traversing Millbrook Harbor. Expert security personnel present on location. They are constructing something monumental. How often must they be taught? Martha pondered, as she poured herself a steaming cup of coffee. Small towns have become more resilient than ever. They still haven't grasped it, Evelyn replied. They continue to believe that Seabrook Bay and Cedar Grove were mere coincidences. They fail to grasp the true nature of what lies ahead. Ramirez accessed the satellite imagery. Ghost teams pinpointed 3 primary compounds. The Harbor Kings are utilizing aged fishing warehouses as a facade. The local police chief has been instructed to maintain distance. Cooper observed, much like Richard did in this instance. The distinction, Grayson noted, is that we are now familiar with their tactics. We can outpace them. Evelyn's phone illuminated with a flurry of notifications. Derek. Facial recognition identified 3 former associates of Cross in Millbrook. Bantam Prospect. Packages are prepared and ready for targeting. Teams are ready and in place. Silver Diamond Reconnaissance Unit. Harbor Patrol has been compromised. No formal reply is expected. They believe they're quite astute, Evelyn remarked, examining the information. Employing the same techniques that proved effective for Cross. Contemplating the notion that lightning may not strike thrice. Looking to show them they're mistaken? Ramirez inquired, adjusting her tactical gear. Not at this moment. Evelyn accessed additional satellite imagery, observed their patrol patterns closely. Anticipation of pushback from local authorities or competing factions is on the horizon. Exactly the same as the rest. They are gearing up for a battle of the misguided sort. Martha came over, carrying a steaming pot of coffee and wearing a smile that hinted at understanding. I received a call from the local diner in Millbrook. The owner claims that the Harbor Kings have been exerting pressure on businesses, making an example of anyone who dares to resist. Brings to mind a few other tormentors we faced. Cooper pondered the cyclical nature of history. No, Evelyn clarified. A lesson from history. One of these individuals refuses to learn. Rodriguez glanced at her secure phone. FBI teams stand prepared. As always, it's off the books. Is the ghost team ready and in place? Evelyn inquired. Indeed. 6 operators positioned across essential sites. Every patrol route has been meticulously mapped out. All security weaknesses have been identified. Metallic wolves? Grayson smiled with a knowing grin. 20 riders poised to unleash chaos at your signal. Ramirez? 10 deputies, each a seasoned veteran of Cedar Grove. They are familiar with the strategy. Evelyn rose to speak to her gathered team. These individuals believe they possess intelligence by adhering to Cross's methods. They remain unaware that this is precisely the reason for their impending failure. We anticipate their actions before they even occur. We anticipate their vulnerabilities even before they reveal them. She engaged the primary tactical interface, revealing the configuration of Millbrook Harbor. They anticipate the typical dangers. Neighborhood officers, competing factions, possibly a federal probe. What they don't see coming is us. A phantom squad capable of launching an attack from any location. Silver Diamond that understand the art of strategic combat, not merely brute strength. Deputies educated in our techniques, and above all, a community of small towns prepared to unite. Martha incorporated new insights from her diner connections. Rumor has it that something significant is set to happen tomorrow night. A display intended to illustrate to neighboring towns the consequences of defiance. At just the right moment, Evelyn smiled. Let's demonstrate the consequences of crossing the wrong communities. She meticulously inspected her equipment while her team readied themselves for deployment. Recall Seabrook Bay, she instructed them. Recall Cedar Grove. Recall each little community that these individuals believed they could dominate with intimidation and deceit. This evening, we include Millbrook Harbor in that collection. Her phone vibrated one last time. Derek, numerous adversarial groups are gathering around Millbrook. Whatever they have in store, it's monumental. Excellent, Evelyn responded. Thus is our reply. As her team departed, Evelyn reflected on that morning in Sullivan's diner when 2 bikers believed they could assert their dominance through intimidation. They had embarked on an unexpected journey. A collective focused on safeguarding small towns from those who seek to exploit them. Prepared to impart a timeless lesson to some fresh adversaries? Ramirez inquired, inspecting her arsenal. Evelyn loaded her rifle with precision. Let's demonstrate to the Harbor Kings why cunning hunters steer clear of small towns in the present day. Outside, the engines came alive with a thunderous roar as the team readied themselves for departure. The night unfolded with clarity, ideal for their mission. Out in the vast expanse, the Harbor Kings believed they were on the brink of showcasing their might. Instead, they were on the verge of illustrating yet again why one should never overlook the significance of small towns or the silent guardians who stand watch over them. Martha, Evelyn returned the call just as they were getting ready to depart. Ensure the coffee remains steaming. I have a feeling it will come in handy when we return. Always do, dear, Martha smiled. I've prepared a new notebook for the tale of Millbrook. I have a feeling this one is going to be great. The approach to Millbrook Harbor was carried out with utter quietude. As night fell, Evelyn's team quietly positioned themselves, while the ghost team operators had seamlessly slipped into crucial spots across the port facility. Peering through her night vision goggles, Evelyn observed the Harbor King's security patrols, their movements exuding a misplaced bravado, as if they believed themselves beyond reach. Ghost lead, status, Evelyn murmured into her radio. Every target has been marked. Encountered a hostile force far exceeding expectations, with over 50 operators equipped with military-grade gear. There's a significant scheme in the works. Grayson's voice crackled over the comm system. Affirmative. My scouts have observed the deployment of heavy weaponry being strategically positioned around the harbor. They are preparing for an impending challenge. Evelyn examined the thermal imagery on her tactical display with keen focus. The Harbor Kings had converted 3 warehouses into strongholds, complete with professional security teams guarding what seemed to be an extensive arsenal. Ramirez, are your team members in place? Indeed. Deputies are stationed throughout the town, prepared and awaiting your cue. Rodriguez? FBI teams are strategically positioned, masquerading as fishing crews. The harbor is well taken care of. Evelyn's phone illuminated with a message from Helen, the proprietor of the local diner. A significant meeting is taking place at this moment. All members of the Harbor King's leadership are in attendance. A demonstration is set to take place tomorrow. There's a notion of setting a precedent. Martha's voice echoed through the command channel, much like they accomplished in Seabrook Bay. They consistently begin with a display of power. Evelyn peered through her scope, observing as additional vehicles rolled up to the main warehouse. The Harbor Kings were amassing their complete force, readying themselves to showcase their might to the town, similar to what Cross had attempted, similar to the efforts made by the Night Raiders in Cedar Grove. All units, commence Phase 1, Evelyn commanded. Across Millbrook Harbor, a meticulously crafted turmoil unfolded. The Silver Diamond executed diversionary assaults from various angles. Ramirez's deputies, blending in with the local traffic, established tactical blockades. The operators of the Ghost team activated the harbor's emergency systems, leading to chaos among the enemy ranks. The response is being divided, as reported by Ghost Lead. Security teams are deviating from their formation, just as anticipated. Evelyn observed intently through her thermal scope, noting how the enemy commanders struggled to orchestrate their forces. The radio chatter, caught by Derek's devices, unveiled an escalating sense of dread. Numerous breaches have been reported. Unfamiliar figures on the northern flank. Disconnection from external teams. Grayson noted that they were losing control, exactly the same as the rest. Evelyn activated her radio. Proceed with the second phase. Ghost team, you are authorized to engage designated targets at will. Grayson, commence your attack. Ramirez, ignite the flames. The genuine assault struck the Harbor Kings from all angles. Ghost team operatives dispatched crucial leaders with meticulous accuracy. The Silver Diamond feint evolved into a brutal onslaught against their defensive lines. Ramirez's deputies stepped out from their concealment, focusing on particular adversaries informed by their gathered intelligence. Martha conveyed that Helen has reported their leadership is attempting to escape. They are making their way to the emergency boats. That's not going to work, Evelyn replied. Ghosts 3 and 4 blocked their way out. Grayson, obstruct the marina. Rodriguez, it's time to assemble your teams. The leaders of the Harbor Kings reached the midpoint of their escape to the boats, only to discover they were encircled by ghost operators. Their skilled security teams, recognizing they had been outsmarted, attempted to establish a defense, but soon discovered they were trapped between the Silver Diamond and the FBI assault teams. Commander, Ghost Lead's voice carried a sense of urgency. It's essential to check the contents of the main warehouse. With determination, Evelyn navigated the tumult of conflict, slipping into the warehouse through a side door. Within, she discovered the meticulous plans the Harbor Kings had been orchestrating. A substantial cache of weapons and ammunition sufficient to equip a small army, accompanied by intricate strategies for seizing control of additional coastal towns. As we suspected, she whispered, they were indeed planning to expand. Is that you, Evelyn? Ramirez reached out with a sense of urgency. There's activity stirring at the town hall. It seems certain officials are attempting to vanish without a trace. Ghost 5 and 6. Engage interception. No one is permitted to leave until we have verified their participation. The clash at Millbrook Harbor unfolded in under an hour, yet its repercussions would resonate for years to come. The Harbor Kings, with their leadership compromised and their operations laid bare, fell into utter disarray. Their skilled security teams, realizing they were outmatched, capitulated to the FBI forces. As the first light of dawn spilled over the harbor, Evelyn observed the federal agents meticulously working through the scene. After months of living in fear, the local residents stepped out to witness the liberation of their town. Much like Seabrook Bay, Cooper noted, they remain oblivious to their mistakes. They learn, Evelyn amended. They simply absorb the incorrect teachings. They perceive towns like this as vulnerable, cut off. They often fail to recognize the unique resilience found within small communities. A message from Derek made her phone vibrate. 2 additional coastal towns have been identified with similar operations. Phantom Squad poised for action. It seems our work is far from over, Ramirez observed. It was as if Evelyn inspected her tool, her mind already racing towards the upcoming mission. The work is never complete. As long as there are those who believe they can take advantage of small towns, we will stand ready to demonstrate their misconceptions and remind them, Martha interjected via the radio, that often the most perilous individual isn't necessarily the one with the largest crew or the most weapons. At times, Evelyn found herself in agreement, gazing at the sun as it ascended over Millbrook Harbor. It's the reserved ones, the individuals who determine that the time for change has come, the individuals who rise and resist. The town was awakening around her. The harbor kings had vanished. Their effort to construct a criminal empire crumbled, much like those who had ventured down that path before them. And somewhere beyond, other towns awaited, yearning for the same assistance. The very same hope that had graced Seabrook Bay that morning, when two bikers chose the wrong target. Prepared to rescue yet another community? Ramirez inquired, adjusting her equipment. Evelyn smiled, reminiscing about that morning in Sullivan's diner that felt like a distant memory. Perpetually prepared. Someone needs to remind these bullies to think twice about who they choose to confront. And why, Martha added, they ought to pause and reflect before stirring up trouble in a small town. A year had passed since the fateful encounter that ignited everything at Sullivan's diner. Evelyn found herself once again in her familiar window booth, observing the morning fog as it drifted in from the ocean. The town had transformed in ways she could never have anticipated. Seabrook Bay had transformed into something beyond a mere tranquil seaside town. It transformed into an emblem of optimism for communities across the nation. Martha came over with a steaming cup of coffee, reminiscent of that pivotal morning. "What's on your mind?" Reflecting on the beginnings, Evelyn responded, two bikers who believed they could instill fear in a diner owner, and discovered a Navy commander instead, Martha smiled. While I have a feeling they weren't the only ones to err in that way. Evelyn's phone vibrated, delivering the morning intelligence update from Derek. Over the last year, their network has successfully disrupted criminal activities across 12 coastal towns, dismantled 3 significant trafficking rings, and revealed numerous corrupt officials. The Phantom Squad had attained a mythical status within the underworld. A hidden power that arrived unexpectedly, safeguarding vulnerable communities from those who sought to exploit them. Martina slid into the booth, a glint of excitement in her eyes. "I've got something interesting," she announced. As a seasoned sheriff, she had taken on the role of mentor, guiding law enforcement in various towns on how to combat corruption and defy intimidation. Recall the documents we discovered in Millbrook Harbor? At last, I've completed the decryption process. What did you discover? Identifiers, timelines, places. It appears that Cross was not merely constructing a criminal empire, he was crafting a blueprint. A method for individuals to strategically focus on and dominate small towns in a systematic manner. Grayson stepped into the diner, with Cooper and Rodriguez trailing behind him. The leader of the Silver Diamond bore a grave expression. That clarifies the observations we're making along the coastline. Various factions, identical strategy. They are acquiring knowledge, Rodriguez remarked, as he laid out the surveillance photos on the table. In light of recent events in Cedar Grove and Millbrook Harbor, there's a noticeable shift in their approach. They're exercising greater caution, working in smaller teams, and maintaining mobility. Yet the focus remains on small towns. Cooper took note. They continue to believe they can dominate communities by instilling fear and fostering corruption. Evelyn examined the photographs. The patterns emerged distinctly. Criminal organizations are evolving their tactics, yet they continue to overlook the resilience of small communities, continuing to repeat the same basic error that Cross and the Steel Serpents once committed. Evelyn remarked that they aren't the only ones who have gained knowledge. Each community we assist grows more resilient. Each community that rises serves as a beacon for others to follow. Her phone illuminated with a flurry of messages. Phantom guidance. Recent developments observed in 3 coastal areas. Silver Diamond Reconnaissance Unit. There are unsettling activities occurring in the harbor towns to the north. Derek. The satellite reveals a pattern that aligns with Cross's template. Martha topped off their coffee cups. It appears that certain individuals are destined to discover lessons through difficult experiences. They just don't get it, Ramirez remarked. Small towns are perceived as vulnerable opportunities. They are always caught off guard by the presence of individuals like us, patiently awaiting their arrival. That's the gravest error, Evelyn responded. They believe they can stroll into any quaint little town, assert their dominance, and seize power. They often overlook the inherent strength within these communities. Their very own guardians. Rodriguez glanced at her secure phone. The FBI has been monitoring a rise in criminal activity along the coast. They are coordinating efforts and exchanging resources. Excellent. Grayson grinned. Facilitates their discovery. Evelyn approached the window, her movements deliberate and thoughtful. Outside, Seabrook Bay buzzed with the vibrant energy of the morning. Families strolled with confidence. Enterprises flourished. The community had become more resilient than ever before. The Steel Serpents had vanished. Their attempted takeover, now merely a tale inscribed in Martha's notebook. Do you understand what the true distinction is? Evelyn inquired. In the space that separates us from them. Aside from the reality that we stand on the side of righteousness? Ramirez jested. Small towns are viewed as objectives. We perceive them as our sanctuary. They believe they can dominate communities by instilling fear. True strength is found in the unity of individuals supporting one another. Once more, her phone vibrated. Helen hails from Millbrook Harbor. Unusual bicycles spotted around the town. A new group is attempting to establish their presence. Do you recall the assistance you provided us? It just keeps going, doesn't it? Cooper took note. It isn't meant to, Evelyn responded. As long as there are individuals who believe they can take advantage of small towns, we will stand ready to demonstrate their misconceptions. Martha arrived carrying a steaming pot of coffee and her legendary apple pie. It seems we should gather our energy. It appears we have additional individuals who could benefit from a lesson in decorum. Do you want to hear what I've discovered over the last year? Evelyn remarked, gazing at her team. That morning, when those bikers strolled in, they believed they were merely teasing a solitary woman in a diner. They were completely unaware that they were embarking on a journey of monumental significance. A network, Ramirez remarked. A quest, Grayson elaborated. A family, Martha concluded. Evelyn's phone illuminated with the final confirmation from Ghost Lead. Teams are in place at all 3 locations, ready for your instructions. She surveyed her unexpected family, the proprietor who initiated the entire venture, the sheriff who discovered her bravery, the leader of the Silver Diamond who had earned a place as a reliable companion, the agent who opted to battle from the shadows along with all those who rallied to their cause. Well then, Evelyn remarked, inspecting her weapon with a keen eye. Let's go show some folks why it's wise to choose your battles carefully in small towns. And why, Martha remarked with a knowing smile. The serene figure sipping her coffee could very well be the most formidable presence in the space. Outside, the engines came alive with a powerful roar as the team readied themselves for departure. Along the coast, other small towns lingered, yearning for assistance, for a glimmer of hope, to have someone reveal that they were not solitary. Evelyn's team would be present, just as they had been since that fateful morning when 2 bikers made a choice that altered the course of events. The evening sun stretched its golden rays, creating elongated shadows over Seabrook Bay, while Evelyn nestled in her familiar booth at Sullivan's Diner, wrapping up the day's reports. A year had gone by since the initial 2 bikers strolled in, seeking a confrontation. In the dimly lit basement of the diner, a command center orchestrated operations to safeguard small towns along the coast, with Martha's coffee and pie energizing the intricate planning of tactical missions. Evelyn addressed her gathered team with a message from Ghost Lead. The operation in Harbor Bay last night unfolded flawlessly. Criminal organization dismantled, dishonest officials apprehended, community safeguarded. Ramirez noted that this brings the total to 15 towns liberated, carefully marking the location on their tactical map. Quite impressive for a year's effort. It all began in this very spot as Martha beamed, pouring fresh coffee into cups for 2 bikers who had chosen the wrong target. Evelyn's phone vibrated, signaling Derek's most recent intelligence update. Criminal enterprises are evolving. They've shifted their focus away from small coastal towns, seeking more accessible targets further inland. Cooper noted their progress. They're filled with fear, Grayson amended. Whispers are circulating in the shadows. Small towns have become formidable strongholds, especially with the ghost team patrolling the shadows. Not while we're observing. Rodriguez stepped into the diner, clutching freshly acquired intelligence files. There is a notable decline in the presence of organized crime along the coast. It's being referred to as the small town effect. Criminal groups cautioning one another to steer clear of areas such as Seabrook Bay. Ramirez grinned, aware that the quiet woman sipping her coffee could very well be a Navy commander, and they would never suspect it. Evelyn delved into the most recent reports. The transformations were striking. Criminal networks that previously viewed small towns as simple targets now steered clear of them altogether. The template Cross had crafted, the one that had sparked inspiration in countless others, was now being employed to instruct criminals on which locations to steer clear of. Do you understand what true triumph really is? Evelyn inquired, glancing at her team. It's more than merely the communities we've supported. It concerns those we haven't needed to assist. The communities that remained untouched, as the criminals were too intimidated. Martha set her well-loved notebook down on the table. The one that initiated everything. I received a call from a diner proprietor in Mountain View. Reports indicate that certain bikers were creating disturbances in an attempt to coerce local businesses. Yet an odd occurrence took place. What is that? Evelyn inquired. Even though she was already aware of the answer, with a sudden phone call, the bikers vanished without a trace. It seems that someone has shared the details of the events that unfolded here, exploring the consequences faced by individuals who instigate conflicts in small towns today. Grayson chuckled. A reputation holds immense power. Evelyn's phone illuminated with a flurry of concluding messages. Phantom guidance. All sectors are clear. No aggressive actions observed. Derek. Satellite imagery reveals that illicit activities are shifting away from coastal areas. Silver Diamond Reconnaissance Unit. The streets are serene. They've figured out how to keep their distance. What comes next? Ramirez inquired. Now that the coast is secure, should we consider standing down? Evelyn rose and approached the window, the very spot where she had lingered on that momentous morning. Outside, Seabrook Bay exuded a serene tranquility. Yet in other places, there may be communities that could benefit from their assistance. Must grasp the teachings that began in this place. We adjust, she concluded at last. Exactly as they have. We remain prepared. Remain alert. Or in time, there will be those who overlook the teachings we shared in this place. They'll believe they've stumbled upon a simple mark, a tranquil community manipulated by fear and coercion. And when they happen, Cooper inquired, they will discover the same truth that the Steel Serpents uncovered. The same lesson we've imparted to every criminal group that has attempted to exploit small towns. Sometimes, the most perilous individual isn't necessarily the one leading the largest crew or wielding the most weapons. At times, Martha remarked, as she poured the last cup of coffee. It's the reserved ones. The individuals who determine that the limit has been reached. The individuals who rise and demonstrate to others the art of resistance. Evelyn gazed at her unexpected family. The proprietor of the diner who had transformed into their very essence. The sheriff who discovered her bravery. The Silver Diamond who transformed into guardians. The Phantom Squad that emerged from the darkness, along with all the others who had rallied to their cause. Do you realize what those initial 2 bikers actually accomplished? She inquired. As they entered, believing they could instill fear in a quaint little town. What is that? Ramirez inquired. They chose to confront someone far beyond their capabilities. They contributed to the formation of something beyond their wildest expectations. A community of individuals committed to safeguarding small towns. To take a stand against those who believe they can exploit peaceful neighborhoods and intimidate the vulnerable. Her phone vibrated one last time. A note from Helen in Millbrook Harbor. Thanks a lot. Our town stands resilient now. We assist in safeguarding others, just as you shielded us. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over Seabrook Bay, bathing the tranquil streets in a warm, golden glow. In diners and quaint towns along the coast, individuals carried on with their lives, unburdened by fear, realizing they had company at last. Aware that, in a distant place, a serene woman sipped her coffee while observing, prepared to remind anyone who may have overlooked the importance of choosing your battles wisely in small towns. As the final beams of sunlight dwindled, Evelyn pondered in quiet reflection. Significant errors often pave the way for crucial transformations. At times, the most misguided choice a bully can make is stepping into a quaint diner in a small town, believing they had stumbled upon a simple mark. Ultimately, one can never be certain of who might be seated nearby, quietly savoring their coffee. I'm simply biding my time for that inevitable blunder to occur. Coming up, there are 2 more remarkable tales waiting for you right on your screen. If this one resonates, you won't want to miss out on these. Simply click and explore them.